What up? What up? What up? It's your man Sean P coming in live. This is Sean P Experience. I got another hot interview lined up for y'all, man. This is gonna be a banger. You gonna enjoy it. Get your seatbelt and buckle up for this ride, man. I have an amazing brother here with us, rocking on the Sean P Experience, talking about his brand new publication, Promised Land, Encoding. See that shot? Wow! Right? And we'll get into the details of all of this in a little bit. But first of all, let me do a proper introduction, right? My man Katib Ben Vilio is currently a student who academically, personally, professionally strives toward the improvement of the disadvantaged youth within the region in which he lives. His interests, endeavors, and writings are tied directly to the betterment of his people, right? He is the author of the forthcoming Promised Land series and the patriarch of his growing family. I give to you all my brother, Katib. How you doing, my brother? Peace.
Man, I'm humbled, man. I'm grateful to be here. First and foremost, thank you for having me. Super grateful, man. Because and thank you for doing this. Thank you for having this platform, sharing your passion with the rest of the world, and offering other people who share the same interests, like-minded people, to be able to come to platforms like this and listen and share and experience not only the stories, creative processes, and everything, man. And man, it's just really great to be on here with you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yes, sir, man. So this show, the full title is Sitting with the Griots. For those that don't know, our griots were our historic African storytellers way back, in ancient times. They were, I call it the walking Google. They were the walking repository of the stories, orally, songs, music, dance, theater, and many more ways they're conveying story. So we are the modern day griots, in my opinion. How do you feel about the moniker being a modern day griot or a griot carrying that bearing that cross, man? How you feel about that?
I feel it's great. I'm kind of intimidated to even take on that title because that's a huge responsibility, man. That's actually how a lot was transmitted. You know what I mean? Orally, with an AUR. A lot of things were transmitted between different cultures and generations through storytelling. All of our traditions, our customs, everything of that nature was transmitted by ancestors, to younger generations. So I'm a little bit intimidated by the title, man, because that's a big responsibility when you really learn about it. To even want to shoulder it says a lot, and to even take it on says even more.
Yeah, I kind of open the show with that question every time because I don't think a lot of us realize in real time while we're doing it, whether you're writing or doing comedy or these other ways in which we tell stories. I don't think most of us are conscious while we're doing it. I'm carrying on the traditions of our
Hmm.
ancestors and our forefathers, but we always did. We always told stories in
Exactly.
various format. Even with serious subject matter, we'll find a way to make a joke, or we'll find a way to make it into where we can compact that thing into something. So I want us to be consciously doing it. My
Right.
point for that question.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yes,
Most
sir.
definitely.
Yes, sir.
It
So
will.
tell us about the Promised Land encoded. First of all, let's go into the title, Promised Land, the encoding, and then tell us about this cover and some of the imagery going on here. What are you conveying with this cover?
Well, first, you really want to grab people's attention. And, you got to realize you know, um, I know there's a big delineation argument right now. There was a little diaspora war, which I certainly don't support, but I understand how it happened. Um, Uniformly, I can say universally, I can say people of African descent, for the most part, we're very much into our colors, man. We're very much into our colors, and the continent of Africa is enriched with different terrains, topographies, everything. So naturally, in my personal opinion, I feel people of our ethnicity and descent, you're really drawn towards colorful, colorful presentations. So I definitely want to grab the attention of readers of African descent, but hopefully everyone, because there's characters in that story that are central to the story that are not of African descent. So that's the thing about. But additionally, I also wanted to say, as you read the story, you find out that the cover of the book is actually a painting. painted by one of the characters in the story. Um, I can't give that away, but that's the imagery. Those are the three main characters. Um, they are in water up to the knee. There's some significance to that as well, as you come to find out. And in the background is something extremely important, super important, especially for me. And in my opinion, even if people like me don't agree with me, I think it's important to people like me as well. The background, that's the African American flag. Lesser known fact, lesser utilized, and it should be utilized by Black Americans, in my opinion. Certainly not gonna, you know, can do nothing but advise, but I certainly feel like Black Americans should be more knowledgeable. That is the Black American flag in the background, and there's a very, very particular reason for that in the story. But I can say for myself personally, um, I benefit, being of Haitian descent, I benefit from the plight, the fight, the work, the labor, the lives, the deaths, the struggle of every single thing everyone in this country did before I got here. You know what I'm saying? Because I can get here and I could blend in, so to speak, because no one will know. However, I know. You know what I mean? And in engaging with and Black Americans could probably often tell me, "Where are you from?" You know, they kind of tell me like I don't necessarily look like I'm a Black American, which I'm not. However, I'm very close to, have befriended, um, everything, and have lived the life of a Black American because I'm in America and I'm Black. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very grateful um, for everything. So in a lot of ways, for me, this book is a thank you to Black Americans. It is. Um, it means a lot to me because a lot of my heroes are Black American. And if you once you travel, hopefully a lot of the African American diaspora does, Black American diaspora does. Once you travel, you realize there's paintings of Black Americans everywhere in countries that are predominantly people of African descent. We have paintings of. I grew up with pictures of Martin Luther King in the house, and if you notice, um, there's a lot of people of West Indian descent. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Mandela were like idolized. You know what I mean? Those were like the big three, so to speak. They're very much idolized in everywhere, because you have to realize a lot of our heroes that established these countries that are outside of the Black American diaspora. The heroes had already come and gone for the most part. However, the heroes were still being created in America. The Black American heroes were still being created, fostered, generated, writing books, everything, because their fight was still going on. Um, Sorry, I know I'm taking off a lot of time with that response, but I could definitely say, just lastly, I think a huge part of the reason, and it's a topic in the book as well, a big reason for a lot of things, I think, is Black people who live outside of America have gotten to function um, in isolation for the most part without the influence of another race. Sure, they may, you know, cause unrest, and dismantle your government and everything like that. But for the most part, you've gotten to function without other races there. Black Americans, that's the only diaspora where they have to function in, with, and around people who are predominantly not their own and as a minority. You see what I mean? And I think that that's where, you know, it's a big, I think that's where a lot of the plight comes from. I had to mention that because I had a comment made to me by a Black American coworker of mine that really, really bothered me just the other day, where she had mentioned, oh, oh, you're from here, and I'm a Black American. I don't have any stories to tell. I like tilted my head like a dog. Like, what? Like, you are the most imitated person in the world. If you say you create a word or a phrase today, the whole world will be saying it by the end of the week. You know what I mean? So I'm like, that's the thing about the book. It is a reminder of history. You know what I mean? And if this history is lost, and if you don't know yourself, you will let anyone tell you anything about yourself and you'll believe it.
Yeah, man. So my sister in the chat right now, my sister writing by Winifred, she is also of Haitian descent, right? And
Okay.
she in the chat going in right now. She in the chat going on. She book, 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 book. You know what I mean? You are my third, I believe, Haitian descent author on the show, man. So
Oh, nice.
tell me about the pride that you carry for your heritage, for your lineage, for where you from. Tell us about the pride in that, and how does that pour into the story?
Yeah, most definitely. I just want to address a comment Abominable Book Girl just mentioned. No, you certainly, being Black American, you definitely have a lot of stories to tell, and that's the thing that kind of frustrated me about that comment my coworker made was her saying that, and I'm just like, you got to get familiar, and I think she just probably alienated herself from um, her history, and if you learn about the book, that's actually you don't need to read the book to know that um, a big part of it is to recapture, relearn your history and the significance of it. But as far as being Haitian goes, it's for us, it's a lot to be prideful of. Obviously, Haiti has a lot of ties to America. Our first and last king in Haiti, Christophe, he actually fought at 12 years old in America before going back to Haiti and eventually becoming a king. The Louisiana Purchase, the founder of Chicago. We have a lot of ties to America directly and indirectly. Um, it's something I'm particularly proud of. We're an easy target right now in this political season. There's a quarter million Ukrainians in America right now, but I guess the focus is somehow on these black migrants. There was also, sadly, there was also a woman that lost her life, um, and no one's really talking about that. She was lost her life at the hands of someone else that immigrated there illegally, and but for some reason we're talking about cats and dogs, and Haitians don't even eat cats and dogs. I don't understand, but yeah, we're very, very proud, and we have a lot of love and a lot of respect for Black Americans. You we never try to really distinguish ourselves from them, and we actually, if you notice, in our original Haitian Constitution, it mentioned any person of slave descent or that was a runaway slave can come to Haiti and own land and be free. That was in our original Constitution. So, the love has always been there. Um, I just think that people have done a lot to keep us from each other, psychologically, especially.
Thank you for that. So when it comes to fictional books in particular, I never want to. First of all, for the guests that's watching, this is not a show with spoilers and whatnot. I'm going to try my best as the host not to spoil the book. It's a lot of things unfolding in here that you got to see and come across yourself. But I do want you to give us an elevator pitch or give us a synopsis of the book yourself. So
Wow.
therefore, I don't mess around and step in a landmine and say something I shouldn't say. Give us your elevator pitch for Promise.
Man, Promised Land is a coming of age story that deals um, heavily with intersectionality. Because all of us can be one thing, but we can also be something else. And for these three main characters, they're trying to find out where they fit in the midst of their American experience as a Black American. They all have these different identities, but primarily they are young Black women. And in being so, there's a lot of complexities at play because they live in a near but distant future where Black history has been forgotten because it has been removed. And this is a huge threat to America because Black history is American history. It is world history. And your history did not begin with slavery, contrary to popular belief. Um, so these three women are navigating with the help of unknown forces to help them navigate through a lot of changes that are taking place in the country and ultimately end up in a place that they did not foresee being in to their own benefit or detriment. You just have to read it to find out.
For sure, man, for sure, for sure. So I want to ask you, right? In this book, toward the beginning of the book, we're going to it right now. We talk about book bans. We're talking about
Yeah.
critical race theory (CRT). We're talking
Mhm.
about the restricting of information and content for Black and Brown people, especially. Tell me your thoughts about because it is book ban week, right? This is the week of book ban,
Yeah.
right? Book
Hmm.
ban week. So tell us
Yeah.
about how do you feel as an author about book bans? Part two is what if tomorrow you wake up in the morning and the promised land is on the banned book list? You are banned from the schools, you're banned from the libraries. How do you feel as a writer about that?
Wow. I do not support book bans because a book that was central to me learning to love reading and learning to love writing is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. It's heavily influential in this book. Um, that book was banned for a long period of time. And that, in my opinion, is to the detriment of anyone who loves literature because it is a beautifully written and a great story that needs to be told. So I definitely do not support it. If Promised Land was banned, I would feel like I did something right. I would feel as if there was something in there that affected someone so deeply that they thought, we got to keep this from other people finding out. People can't know about this. You know what I mean? That'd be my moment where they shot the nose off the Sphinx. You know what I mean? Where I would be like, man, they don't want people to know. You know what I mean? So I would be like, okay,
And
something's done right.
to be honest, as a writer myself, man, I've been saying this for mad years to my friends in private. I wish my books were banned. I'm like, please ban my books. Because you and I discussed marketing one day on the phone last week for
Yeah.
various other reasons. But
Mhm.
you think about historically, whenever we was kids and they tried to ban the Mortal Kombat video game,
Yeah, I
Mortal
remember
Kombat,
that.
Mortal Kombat went crazy.
Hmm.
We was kids. They tried to ban NWA. They tried to ban Luke, his music in Florida. This,
Yep.
whenever things have been tried to ban back in the day, they went crazy for the
Exactly.
producer of whatever that was. So man, please, if you're a parent out there watching this, ban Sean P's book, not his, me. Ban my books, please. Tomorrow, I'm trying to go crazy with it so I can grow this podcast. So please ban my book. That just happened.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it would definitely be a big sign. A big sign that
Yeah,
you wrote something good. You wrote
like Jay
something.
Z said, man, we made it. We made
You
it.
made it.
Mama, we made it.
Yeah,
You know what
exactly.
I'm saying? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell me about what events in fictional writing, things are still based on something that's real. What events took place around you or to you that made you say, you know what, I'm gonna write this story? What was the creative spark for Promised Land, the series?
Mm. Man, there's a collection of books that I probably read in succession, like, Rolling Thunder, Hear My Cry, Sister Citizen by Melissa V. Harris Perry, The Bluest Eye, Fahrenheit 451, um, and there's a couple others as well. I read all those, but current events really, really moved me. Kind of that diaspora war that was going on for a while there, and kind of still going on. Um, a lot of different things kind of poked and prodded at me a little bit to make me be like, I kind of got to find a way to send a message and say something about all of this. Um, and kind of where the book stops, I didn't necessarily want it to stop, but I was like, I think this is a good stopping point because I had gotten my point across. Felt like there was more to say, but I was like, I feel like I addressed all these current events to include book bans, to include, you know, this stifling of Black history. I felt like I got the message across really well, but those are the things that really moved me. And I could definitely tell I was in a good place with it because I had written it in 2 months. And
Really? You did
yeah,
this in 2 months?
yeah, I had written that in 2 months. And
Man, that's crazy.
that's not like a braggadocious thing at all. But
No, no, I'm saying,
so much was just pushing me and pushing me and pushing me because
man, that's
I felt so
crazy.
strongly about everything that's in there.
In
And
2 months.
and
Wow.
the thing is, for people who've read it, one of the criticisms I received, and I mentioned this before, was, this seems extreme. in some places. Not that the book takes you to a dark place or nothing morbid happens. It's not like that. It's um, there's some historical facts that are mentioned or alluded to in the book, and because of that, um, I had somebody tell me like, "Oh, that didn't happen," and I'm like, "That happened here in America. That happened." I don't know. So it kind of made me wonder. I'm like, I know a lot of people feel the news is negative, so they stay away from it. But being black in America, you really have to stay aware of what's going on, why and
I
how,
want,
and all these types of things.
I want to say something right quick. I never normally inject myself in the show. It's your show, not mine. I'm only the host, but I
Our
want to say
show.
it's your show, man. This is your show. But I want to say one thing, and I'll be quiet about it, right? For 15, 20 years,
Hmm.
I'm reading Black history, studying Black history, posting Black history. People always ask, why you reading those old books? Why you talking about old stuff? People have no idea. Well, we might think it's common knowledge. A lot of people don't know this stuff, bro.
That's correct.
So it takes Lovecraft Country to show a sundown town, and the people on Twitter going crazy like, wait, what
Yeah.
was a sundown town? Like,
Yeah.
bro, they still got those.
Right. They
I,
do.
I live not far from one, to be
Hmm.
honest, right?
Yeah.
Um, it takes what that show was called. Oh, The Watchmen or HBO, The Watchmen, Regina
Right.
King.
Yeah.
She's showing Black Wall Street, things of that nature, and
Yep.
Lovecraft as well, right? People like, man, that ain't never happened.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
We think these things are common. We all know Black Wall Street. We all know Emmett Till. We
Hmm.
all know Lake Lanier.
Yeah.
We don't all know that, bro. And
Right.
so for us that's always doing this, we got
Hmm.
to be able to have patience and
Yeah.
slow it down. Like, okay, let me educate and not talk condescending down. Like, how you don't know this? Like being elitist.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
But a lot of this stuff, people don't dig into the history, bro.
No, they don't.
So therefore, you think there's no story to tell. You
Right.
think there's no history. You think there's
And
nothing.
but
So
that leads to your original point that you started the show with. That that's the responsibility of being the new griot. You know what I mean? For the new generation, you have to tell these stories. But the thing is that I've learned, we have to tell the stories in the way that they want to hear them. We can't tell the story the way we got told the story. So now I feel like the best medium is a series on Netflix. You know what I mean? And that's not to
bro,
insult anyone, but
bro,
I feel like people are
yeah.
really tapped in when they could just sit and watch it.
So if I go around talking about the Black Panther Party for the 1960s, people are like, man, come on, man, all that Black Panther, that's a long time ago.
Yeah,
But if Beyonce do a 4 minute, 20-second halftime show
yeah,
by getting information, now the next day, all the females wearing the afros, everybody wearing the black jackets and the black leather, and
yeah,
everybody posting Angela Davis all of a sudden. Like, it
yeah,
took that for y'all to actually tap into your greatness and what these people did.
yeah.
But
It's
unfortunately, that's what
worrisome.
it takes. That's
It's
what it takes.
worrisome, man. It's worrisome, and it really hurts my heart because I'm just like, man, the history is so rich and deep, and everyone you think is a role model or an initiator or the person who started it, they're not. Someone black did that a long time ago. I was just watching a man who mentioned today that and it had been proven that Norman Lear, who was a producer in Hollywood, who's credited for the Jeffersons, who's credited for a lot of shows in that era, he stole a lot of those shows from someone black. Stole the concept, stole the original pilots and everything. You know what I mean? And this all allegedly happened, but the man provided evidence and proof of how it all allegedly happened. But like I said, if you don't educate yourself, you'll let anyone tell your story. You know what I mean? For you. There's a popular saying, and I may misquote it, but it's always that the winners of war, always go on to write history. And that's very true. Very true. And also if you keep yourself illiterate, who's writing the books?
Come on now. Come on now.
That's
Right?
it's up to us to
So
tell the stories.
this is a writer's podcast, I would say. This show is made for the writers. So somebody asked in the chat, my sister writing by Winifred, who's a fellow writer, what was
Mhm.
your writing schedule like? You said you wrote all of this in 2 months' time. What was your writing schedule like? Do you have a life? Do you work? Do you have a family?
I
You
was
just you just stay
so
in the basement.
really really passionate about social work. So that's why I mentioned, I'm always trying to help my people. You know what I mean? And those people are, um, you know, people that look like me are usually the people that have it the hardest. And ironically, it doesn't matter what part of the world or country you're in. If your complexion is a little bit like this, your life is usually a particular way. There are exceptions to everything. However, this is why I usually try to target specific demographics in the things that I do, because there's a certain level of understanding that comes with certain experiences. So, you know, for me, being passionate about social work, I can work in a lot of different places. I choose to work where I feel the need is greatest. And the need where the need is greatest, just where I happen to live, there's a lot of people in need that look like me physically. Um, are there people in a lot of different places in America, the world, that need social workers as well? Absolutely. And I help them too. But, they have to come to that area that I'm in order for me to help them. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. I just went to where I felt the need was the greatest. There was no discrimination involved. However, um, when done with that for the day and everything I had to do, I was probably donating about maybe 3 hours a day to it, just rereading it. And then,
My brother, my brother, you are slick. You are slick.
what's that?
You just said I was probably donating. Tell me why you chose the word donate right there.
Man,
You don't supposed to say, "Man, I spent about 3 hours a day writing, or I gave up 3 hours a day." You said I donated three. Tell me why the word donate. I know
man,
that's something else.
time is precious. It's something you cannot get back. You know what I mean? So if you're going to give your time to something, someone, let it be something that's worth it. So I really felt like this was going to be worth it. And before I even began to write about it, I had to tell myself, like, I'll only really write something if I feel like people are going to get something from it. I'm dead and gone. If it's, I want it to still carry weight. I want it to be something that matters. So I'm going to give a good amount of myself to it in order to have a specific level of impact and hopefully, create a conversation, spark some thoughts, um, or what have you. But that's very much what I wrote it for and what my intended purpose was.
Okay, so in this book, you have a lot of actual history in this fictional book.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have some elements in here that's kind of like a thriller, almost a thriller kind of element to it.
Yeah.
There are some events that happen in the book, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's like mystery and like suspense and like.
Right.
So how would you categorize this book? Is the question. There's so much history actually in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is fiction, but
Yep.
it is. How will you categorize?
Man, it's a little bit of everything, really. I kind of wanted to try my hand at writing a scary story, and it's very much a horror story in some ways, but it's historical fiction, it's fantasy, um, it's a Black history book in some ways. It's a socially contemporary um, piece as well. You know what I mean? But I feel like I tried to write something that I was like, I want this to be like a book club book. You know what I mean? I want this to
Brother,
be something that they go ahead and that they talk about years to come, argue about, debate about, think about the motives of who did what. And a big criticism was, well, you kind of told me how so and so felt. You have to realize, for the readers that are not Black and don't really know what these experiences are like, I have to tell you what some of these experiences are like. So to that extent, there's certain things I felt like, okay, I have to give this specific information away. Other things I was like, okay, I got to let them continue to turn the page and try to find out on their own. And just one question I noticed real quick, being in the environment of books, how has it changed my personality? Man, when you find a really good character or fictional character or historical figure from reading, that has some traits that you want to take on, man. You know what I mean? They got some traits where it's just like, man, I want to be like him. Like, how did he do that? How did she do that? Like, what was it? What drove her? What motivated her? So a lot of the people that motivated me, I had to read about. You know.
So tell me some of those figures, if you don't mind, real quick. Rattle off some of the names that struck you from literature. Like, you know what? I want to embody some of that. I want to get some of that. I admire that right there. Who are some of those people?
Oh man, definitely Malcolm X comes to mind off the top of my head. You know, it's just to be underneath that much pressure on a day-to-day basis, to be underneath the microscope, and just to deprive yourself of what would have benefited you, even if it was shutting your own mouth. That would have kept you alive. And indirectly, you being told, be quiet, you'll live, you'll watch your kids grow and graduate, get married, and all that stuff. And to him, what happens to everyone else around him and after him mattered way more than all of that. That says a lot, and I could equally say the same thing for Dr. King as well, whose book I haven't gotten to yet. He has a really good
Bro,
biography that came
bro.
out. I didn't
So,
get to it yet.
here we go. We're doing it twice in one show. Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. I did interview the author of that book early in the year.
Wow.
Jonathan I. I'll send you the link to the video after the show.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
send you
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. For sure.
But I had the blessing and the pleasure of interviewing him on the Sean P. Experience, man. He did win the Pulitzer Prize for that book, by the way.
Oh
And
man.
yeah, the
Nice.
book came about 650 something pages.
Yeah.
Phenomenal book, well researched, well documented.
Mhm.
Did his homework. You will see King in a whole different light after reading that joint, man.
Yeah.
Shout
Yeah.
out to that book.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I think I have
Yeah,
it.
man.
I think I have it up here.
I
It's in
see
my
your wonderful bookshelf back there.
yeah, yeah, it's in my queue, man. Well, this is a small section of them. I got way
Yeah,
more
I
over
dig
here.
it. I
Yeah,
dig it.
yeah, it's in my queue, man. I just haven't gotten
Yeah,
to it yet.
yeah. So I want to ask you about these characters, right? In this book, you address autism, you address the deaf community. One of our characters have I don't want to say it correctly. Is it vitiligo?
Yeah, she has vitiligo. Yeah.
Vitiligo. She's
Mhm.
it's in the actual cover of the book actually. I don't know if I get
Yeah,
a good camera shot. The sister in the middle, see her skin complexion, right?
yeah.
You address Christianity. You address Islam,
Mhm.
different religious faiths, right?
Yeah.
You address some science. You go into some physics. You go into a lot of pockets. So my point is, what was your research process like to make sure I'm telling these things correctly? I'm telling these historical points correctly. What was the research process like for this book?
Man, you have to be sensitive um, to everything that you choose to discuss. Whether it's a diagnosis the character is going to have, um, a state of mind, a political ideology they identify with, a religion. My advice to any writer, just be sensitive about it, read about it, learn about it, listen to the experiences of people who have it, think it, walk it, and talk it. You know what I mean? And that was what I try to do beforehand. So the part of the process um, was just read about everything it is that I'm going to engage in, everything it is I'm going to mention. And in reading and learning about so many of those other things, um, I definitely came to see like these things are vital to the story. Um, Also, because of my time, working as an EMT as well, I'm knowledgeable about some of these things as well from a medical standpoint. But it's just like, man, I have to find a way to mention these things and discuss these things and make them relevant to the story, because everything's purposeful in there. It's not like I'm just telling you a person got on, a red shirt or something. It's just like, okay, this is going to matter later on. And as you come to find out, everything comes out to matter. Even the autism, um, matters for that character that has it.
We have another question from our wonderful, beautiful, educated chat right here. You see it on the screen right here, my brother?
Oh yeah, yeah, I see it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what it says. Oh, let me turn this way. That's what it says behind me. That means in the name of Allah. And I just saw the brother Marcellus get executed the other day, who certainly didn't deserve that. Who practiced the Islamic faith himself. Um, and for anyone who's executed in that manner, who had that level of evidence behind him that he wasn't involved or didn't do it, it becomes even more sad than it already is. But yeah, I myself am a practicing Muslim. Um, Faith did influence the book. How it did that was do have a main character that is Muslim herself, and what's really interesting for her, as I mentioned, the book deals with intersectionality, right? She's struggling because it's like, without giving too much away, okay, I'm Muslim, but I'm black. And for a lot of there's a lack of acceptance for some people that are black that are like, man, we don't really practice that, in this part of the country that we live in. And, she feels some rejection. And then, you know, the place of worship that she once went to, she didn't feel accepted there. But she feels that this is the truth and what she comes to practice. And but at the same time, her best friends, the people she loves the most, they don't practice it. But that's okay with her because she knows and sees, like, who loves me more than my homegirls. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean. She's at that intersection of intersectionality, so to speak, and they're all at it at a different point, but there's no stoplights at any of these intersections. And as you come to find out in this story and even later on, you know, there are some accidents that take place as a result of it.
I want to say for my friends who practice Islam in real life, right? And what happened in the book too. No matter how wild the event got, and there's some very wild events in this book, the sister still found a way to do her ritual, to prepare, and to
Mm-hmm.
pray.
Yeah.
And no matter how wild it was getting, it was even almost like you praying right now. And no matter what, the sister will find her water and find what she needs,
Yeah.
do her situation, her rituals and whatnot. And so I always admire my Muslim friends in real life, no matter what we're doing and what we're involved in. They will stop what they're doing at whatever time and they will pray. Even my coworkers at the job, man, I really admire my coworkers at work. You know, in the workplace can be very, very tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Work is so weird when it comes to religion and politics or whatever. But my brothers that practice that, they still find a way to get their prayer rug. Like, look, I'll be right back. I'm going to pray. Hey, handle your business, man. They still, no matter what, go
Right.
and do what they do. And I really, really admire and respect them for that. One of the characters in the book, one of the same things happen whenever she's watching her friend praying and showing her faith, it makes her feel some, emotional in a good way about her own faith and her own
Yeah.
belief.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to really, really comment on that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's certainly no alienation. You know what I mean, between them, because what do they have to rely upon? Even though they have a difference in regards to their faith, they relate to each other because of their blackness, being young black women in America. You know what I mean? And that trumps any other barrier that they have. And as the story progresses, you come to realize, like, through anything and despite everything, they still relate to each other based on what's going on, and based on who they are. You know what I mean? That overrides everything.
When I asked you about describing the book yourself, you mentioned like the horror aspect, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even really think about it. Like, what's crazy about our history? I'm gonna say this too. I'm enjoying this show as the host, by the way. I want to say this too, right? Because some of the things are coming up organically.
Yeah.
People always ask me, Sean, you mentioned the bluest eyes earlier, right? Toni Morrison.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whenever I post certain books online, a person might be curious about the book, but then they will inbox me, well, how traumatizing is that book? And unfortunately, a lot of our stories have dark parts to it. A lot of
Mm.
our tales are not hunky dory. We're gonna just end the book off in the sunset holding hands and skipping down the road. Like a lot of our stories. Bro, a lot of Toni Morrison and Zora, all these people, the end not sweet.
Yeah. It's not.
A lot of these stories, the
It's not.
end not it's not a feel good story.
Yeah.
So a
It's
lot
not.
of things in our community, unfortunately, we're desensitized to it. I did not read this book with a thought of literal the horror category in my mind. Maybe because I'm desensitized, I don't know, but it is a horror aspect to it. But what I want to go with this is quote unquote spooky season, right? October coming up.
Yeah.
For those that get down with that, all of my friends
Right.
posting their spooky books,
Yeah.
all of this stuff. I love what Jordan Peele is doing as a black man in
Man,
that horror space.
yes,
And the
yes.
way he uses Get Out and Us
Mhm.
and some of the other things that he's written in that horror thing to tell our social ills. Isn't it crazy how our social ills is somebody else's horror?
Yeah, yeah.
Speak
That's
on
that's
that.
that's really that's heavy right there,
On that,
man.
man.
That's super heavy. And I it's crazy, man. A lot of these stories, especially the way they're being told now, it's just like right now, more than ever, I love the way that they're telling these black horror stories, so to speak, because there's such a supreme level of social consciousness being injected into all of these stories. Even the way they did the Candyman remake, which I love. I was like, man,
Bro, bro.
I was
Again,
like, I was like,
Chicago,
God, I love this.
Chicago,
Yeah,
the projects.
right.
I'm in the movie theater. This is a real story. It's during the
Oh,
pandemic. I'm in the movie theater with the family.
okay.
I'm not a talk to the screen kind of person. First
Mm,
of all, the minute the movie started, they showed the date and what was going on with gentrification and redlining and all
yeah.
this stuff in Chicago. I got the book called High Rise,
Mm,
nonfiction. High Rise. I'm in the movie theater like, bro, and the whole movie theater is going over everybody's head. Oh, is
yeah.
this a movie? Oh, is it Candyman? It was so much historical stuff in that movie.
Hmm.
And whenever I mention Candyman, the normal response, I ain't watching that. Man, I ain't watching that. Bruh. It's
Yeah,
not a it's not a scary movie. This is a
yeah,
social justice movie.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. It really, really is,
This
man.
is the vehicle to tell
Yeah,
these stories.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, for as it relates to that topic, for anyone who hasn't read it yet or maybe interested or just wants to know, you know, um, Black history is all but gone in America in this story. And if and when it's mentioned, it's told a very particular way that is very watered down, pun intended. And there comes a point, a shift in the story, um, where these people, this group of people, feel as if they have to do something about that. You don't know what they want, why, where they came from, and how, but they contact the main characters of the story, and they want to send a message to all the Black people that are living today. They have a message that they want to convey, and they're trying to use these three girls to convey that message.
So I told you offline, we'll do a little bit right now, about some other previous books where I'm gonna say this. You have an event happens and large amounts of white people are being taken off the continent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that particular aspect to these stories. Not even just this one book, but the concept of, you know what, this thing happens and like large amounts of white people are being taken off the earth. And our response to each other within that,
Yeah.
and the way in
So
which we're treated within that.
yeah, I mean, you have to ask yourself, right? Because we always see a lot of these different issues that happen, take place, these things that go on. We have to ask ourselves, okay, what would happen next? You know what I mean? Would we just be trading one set of problems for another? Like, would we all just get along and everything just be all good now because it's just us? Whether it's regardless of what story it is you're reading. You know what I mean? Ask yourself just, okay, well, what would happen? What would happen if that happened? You know what I mean? If there was some type of significant change um, in life as we know it, especially as it relates to being Black, what would be the implications of it? What would Black people do? There's a big conversation right now um, with people of African descent, not only in America, but especially in America. They're talking about it right now. They're talking about other parts of the world too, but especially in America about reparations. Do Black Americans deserve it? Rhetorical question. Of course they do. Did they ever get it? No, they did not. What happens if they did? Have we thought about that yet? Have we thought about it? What if the government was just like, all right, fine, here, overnight, it's in your account. What are black people doing? What's changing on a day-to-day basis? What's
And
going
to
to
your
happen?
point, when I've had years of discussion about reparations, I'm known to discuss it with other black and brown people, and it becomes a debate. I'm not debating a person of a different ethnicity. I'm debating a fellow black and brown person of what we would do and we would get it, and
Yeah,
how we would act, and how we
yeah,
would move.
yeah. And
So
the thing
it's even
is,
a clash amongst us about what that would even look like you're saying.
exactly, exactly. And who's to determine what's best? Now we get this. Now we got this other argument about what needs to happen, how and when, if this should happen, if it shouldn't. And it's not a question of whether or not black people deserve it. It goes without saying. Of course, black Americans deserve it. And furthermore than that, you have a lot of other groups of people, to include people who owned slaves back in the day. They got reparations when their slaves got freed. It's they got reparations for their slaves being freed. You know what I mean? And throughout history, different groups of people in America got reparations as well. And for some things that didn't even necessarily happen in America, they got reparations in America for. So, I mean, the comment is kind of flimsy in saying that it's not deserved or it shouldn't happen. I believe it should. You know what I mean? Haiti is a country where, okay, you liberated yourself. Now we point all these cannons at you and guns at you. Sign this treaty, and it's going to say that you have to pay us reparations. And Haiti had to pay reparations for freeing itself. You know what I mean? So I would certainly want to see the reverse. I'm not going to get a dime of it living in America. I don't care. That's fine. I'm more so concerned with a wrong being righted. And that's something I hope to see in my lifetime.
So back to the craft of this book, the writing aspect of this book. Tell us about plotting the story, right? So before you start the book, did you already know the end in mind and are you working towards that, or it's kind of coming as it's coming, it's unfolding, it's developing? Tell us about your process in literally writing this story. How did
All
that unfold?
yeah, all I knew was I wanted to involve someone with vitiligo. And I wanted to have somebody um, was who used sign language, who was hard of hearing. You know where that came from. Actually, I'll give this away. I had been watching the Super Bowl the year prior, and she was doing sign while Rihanna was doing a halftime show. And I was just like, man, that's so dope. She's killing it. And then that just had always been bookmarked in my mind. And I was like, that's really dope, man, that she signs. And then, I just started reading up on signing as it relates to being black. Because I'm like, there had to be some type of a difference because we weren't going to school with everyone else. You know what I mean? So that's when I learned about, okay, there was a black American sign
See?
language.
Now, let's do it. It's one of my actual questions written down here. I want you to tell the audience about. I didn't find it out till last year, but I got
Mhm.
curious about sign language personally. There is a black sign language, and they
Yeah.
have different communities. They have different pockets where, and we have different dialects speaking wise. Different parts of Louisiana talk different. Different
Hmm.
parts of the nation clearly talk different. They have
Hmm.
different sign language communities. I had no idea they had their own like language. If you will talk about that for the people.
Yeah, man. Segregation, segregation. And it was not just in um, public schools. You know what I mean? It also was as it related to sign language in schools where people were signing and they were black. They were not signing alongside students and children that were white. So it varied. It was a little bit different. You had Black American Sign Language, and then you had the sign language that everyone else used. And that's a big part of where it came from. And if you look into it, there's a lot of short videos on it on how and why it's different. But I'll tell you this: being Black we use so many different levels and layers to communication. And you can just think about just when you laugh and telling a story with your friends, just the sound effects we make when we tell the story, how we laugh, how our whole body is involved in laughing. You know what I mean? In so many different ways. We're all signing. We're all very, very expressive. You know, happy,
That's
sad.
right.
That's
Right.
just the way we are. We're just very, very passionate. You know, about what we
It's funny.
feel.
As a public speaker, one of the main things, like public speaking 101, is like don't use your hands, don't talk with your hands. They're supposedly distracting, right? But
Hmm.
me as a public speaker, 20 years public speaking, I'm always very dramatic with my hand movements and gestures, facial expressions. I'm very expressive. I
Hmm.
never just so happy and kick my mic out. Yeah,
You good?
yeah. I messed around with my foot and kicked my mic out the doggone laptop.
Oh,
Being expressive, but
yeah.
I never just stand behind the podium and just talk. Today
Hmm.
class we're gonna just I'm always I gotta walk around the room, move around, go in between the
Exactly.
students. Like I want you to feel me when I'm talking, not
Right.
just talk. I think that we
Hmm.
naturally like that.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. It doesn't necessarily have to be taught to us, you know what I mean? It's kind we kind of just get it.
Yeah, sure. So you say as far as your plot, man, like I had this question one time a person asked. Do you think like you're writing like the characters are driving the story, they're driving the plot, or does the plot dictate what the characters are doing? How
For
you approach it?
me, for me, the characters were dictating. So I knew what I wanted to happen. I was like, okay, I have to get them from. So first and foremost, to answer your original question, I had characters first. I had characters, and I'm like, I know that I want this to happen. I don't know the mid. I didn't know the middle of the story. I didn't know the end. I didn't know all the characters. I knew those three women. Like I met them. I knew them like the back of my hand.
Oh, and then the parents came around that the
Parents
other
came
people.
around that, yeah.
Okay,
And
okay.
I'm
Now,
like, okay,
now,
this is what happened. This is how this came to be and everything like that. And I just literally that's kind of what helped me write it on a day-to-day basis was I kind of wanted to see what happened. Because I'm just like, man, what's gonna happen next? Based on these people that I made up, what would they say? What would they do? You know what I mean? And the story just kept writing itself, so to speak, in that way. So I knew what I wanted to happen. I didn't know anything else. I knew nothing. I didn't even know how it was going to end.
so even you're surprised. Like, okay, here we go. This is the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because okay, so the story's broken up in acts.
Yep.
So by the time I probably got like to a certain point, I was like, I think I know what I want to happen. And this is a good stopping point for this. And then so on and so forth. So three acts, there's significance to that. There's an elemental aspect to the story as well. And I'm just like, man, this has to be involved um, because it deals with water. The book deals with water. So gas, liquid, solid. There's significance to that. Those
I'm
three
gonna ask you
phases.
about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask
yeah.
you about that.
Yeah, there's significance to those three phases. Why they're mentioned, how they're mentioned, especially as it relates to the Black experience in America. There's significance, and those are the titles of the three
Yeah.
different acts. And there's also a quote, African proverbs that are directly related to what happens in the act as well.
Yes, sir.
And if you, that's why I feel like it's a book that has to be read more than once because
I agree.
you probably pick up on some stuff you didn't catch the first time around.
I agree. I agree. So tell us about the significance of water, right?
Yeah.
The significance of water in almost every culture. Water is very, very venerated, right? In
Hmm.
most religions, water is a part of the rituals and traditions of it in some kind of way. Tell us about the power of water and the use of it in this particular publication.
Man. So for Black people, regardless of where they are in the world, what diaspora they're in, there is significance to it. Different African traditions, um, different Black American traditions, religious traditions, whether it's being baptized, whether it's Muslims washing up before they pray. Water deals with consciousness in a lot of Asian religious traditions as well. And water literally was a part of the vehicle of what caused us to be dispersed across the earth, and put on these ships. That's how we traveled and got to these different places. Um, it's involved and embedded in the Black American experience as well, whether that was Black people being hosed down, um, or some of the more morbid things I probably don't want to mention as it relates to water as well in dealing with the Black experience. But um, there's a lot of that, and in the book, it is a connecting force for Black people from over here and Black people from over there. It's a connecting force for Black people from the past, Black people from the present. Um, the different things that happen in the book that are directly related to the Black American experience, once these people do it or engage in it or it happens, then something significant, there's a phenomenon that takes place, right? So, not to give too much away, they drink out of a water fountain and something happens. There's some significance to drinking out of a water fountain and being Black in America. It'll go over your head if you don't really know too much of your history, but there's significance to it. And you come to find out what that is, why, and how in the story.
We're not giving nothing away. Like we say, it's spoiler free as always. Spoiler free. We ain't giving nothing, right?
Yeah,
But at
yeah,
a certain point in the book, in a certain point in this whole trajectory, you deal with like quarantine
yeah.
and who gets quarantined. You're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the use of masks and things of that nature, and how some folks feel about somebody wearing a mask for a whole different reason. You're
Yep.
dealing with rioting and protests.
Yeah.
You're dealing with literal like concentration camps, things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about some of those themes that's in the book and why was that impactful? Like, why was that important for you as an artist to put that in this book?
So, kind of earlier you mentioned, like, for a lot of people that are like, man, why are you reading them old books and stuff like that? These things, they're not relevant. They don't happen. We were all quarantined just a few years ago. It's to me, it's a very relevant thing to even discuss now. Um, Life changed quite a bit. Issues with mental health skyrocketed. Even divorces went up during that time. Um, it's very, very significant and relevant. And throughout American history, different people have been quarantined for different reasons. In this story, a group of people get quarantined for a very specific reason. Um, and that alienation, you know what I mean? It just comes to show that even with Black people looking at each other as they're different, ironically, in the eyes of everyone else who isn't Black, we're all Black. You know what I mean? And that, is unifying in its own way.
And again, how our real stories is like somebody else's horror, right? Like imagine if tonight the governor comes on and make an announcement, like man, starting tomorrow we on lockdown, we on quarantine, we got curfews, we enforcing, we sending down the National Guard, like
Yeah.
this stuff really. I'm in Louisiana when they have a hurricane and
Yep.
your city has been impacted enough, they go on the statewide. We got lockdown. We got curfew. You can't
Mm-hmm.
be outside. When I was in the fifth grade, we had Hurricane Andrew, real bad hurricane here in this area. And I
Yeah.
remember as a kid watching the tanks running around, the tanks and trucks going around. I remember being a kid watching, man, past 6 o'clock. Like that's the whisper. Don't be
Right.
out in the street doing X, Y. Like
Yeah.
it goes to like wartime, like for real.
Yep. Yep. Most definitely, man. Most definitely. And just because we read about it or know that it happened in the past, that doesn't mean it can't happen again. When you look at things, even from a legal perspective, here in America, everything's based off of what they call precedents. So if it happened before legally or someone won a case based on that, it's still relevant legally. And America, so much is based off of precedents and law as it relates to precedents. So if it happened before, they kind of keep it in the back of their mind, like, this can happen again, or we can use this again. Well, we've done this before. And in a lot of ways, a lot of these different things that are done or that we're seeing, they're being remanufactured. They're not new at all.
So this book is a series. This is a series.
Yep.
So tell us about, without giving it away, what could
Mhm.
you tell us at all about book number two, as far as like where you at in the process writing it?
Oh
What could
man.
we kind of possibly expect it? Whatever you can give us. What could you tell us about book number two? There is a book two coming. So what is it?
There's two. There's a two next year. Next year. Inshallah next year. I'm
Man,
hoping.
you're right. You're right. You're right so fast.
Now I'm so busy with school and work, man. It's taking me a little bit longer to kind of polish things, but I'm really excited about it because I feel like we really up the ante in the next one. Um, the things that you like about this one, the people you like in this one, you really get to know more of the how and why things are the way they are, why they are the way they are. You know what I mean? There's so many different things about the book I really like, but the thing I like the most is I like the three main characters. You know what I mean? I really like what drives them. I just feel that they're so different from each other, but they're so much the same. And in that next book, um, just they get tested. They get tested. And as a collective, what happens at the end of the story, decisions have to be made because there's a lot of big changes to life as they know it. And now it's a what now? What's best? You know what I mean? What do we need to do?
This
Where
is
do
my
we go?
question personally. Can we expect some more history lessons in the next book? Will there be some more history? Or are we going somewhere totally different?
No, no, no. There's still that's very much a big part of the theme. You know what I mean? So much so that I had to take stuff out because I was like, okay, I don't want them to be like, bro, you beat me over to death with this history. You know what I mean? I wanted to pepper it in a little bit, little by little, but it comes
You
full
gotta kind
circle.
of
It comes full circle. I
you gotta
promise.
kind of hide the medicine inside the Jolly Rancher. You know, you
Exactly.
can't
Exactly.
do too much of that cussing. That cussing.
Exactly. So yeah, it's gonna be some more of that in there. Through all three of them. That's how it is. That's how it
I love
is.
to ask my fictional writers this question. We see right now a big boom in the streaming platforms. A lot of books are being turned into TV series and
Hmm.
movies. I love that as a creative.
Yeah.
Anybody watching the show that's writing, you should be very motivated right now. All these networks, they want to have their original content. So they want to
Right.
have their own tale that they have to their own platform. So that should be motivating for all of us. Would
Right.
you love to see this story as a series? Question.
Man, going back to what we mentioned before, it is the fastest, easiest way to tell a story is to get it on streaming. Not as a movie, but on streaming because you can really take your time, develop, draw people in, get them to feel what the characters feel, understand their motivations. I would love for it to become a series. Love that.
You know what's crazy? What you said, what you just said, like right there, bro. I just heard 50 Cent say in the interview, it's way easier to have the power like be a series and develop over time versus in a
Yeah.
movie you gotta have so much draw star power off the gate
Yeah.
initially, but in a series you have that time to let it
Yeah.
breathe and let it grow.
Yeah. You spread stuff out. I can make you hate a character. You know what I mean? We spread it out. I can make you really want to see them win over the course of time. And when the payoff happens, when they finally get that thing that they wanted or been looking for, you're gonna feel like, man, I'm so happy for them. You know what I mean? Which is not to say it can't be done in a movie. It's just more difficult, and the writing just has to be so much better. Like I remember watching Pursuit of Happiness, and I'm just like, golly, man! But I felt so happy. You know what I mean when he won in the end. But other
Now
movies, other movies can't do that.
this is a complete curveball. I never normally go this far with the question, but do you have three people in mind that would enact these three characters? Kind of just freestyle off the head right quick. If Netflix say, you know what, I love what I'm seeing, my brother. Who you said, man, cast these three to tell this story? Who would that be?
Man, that's difficult. I never thought about that. I never
I
thought
know,
about
I
that.
know. I just wanted to.
You know, the one in the middle, I would want it to be I would want it to be the young lady that was in the Super Bowl, man. That was signing in the Super Bowl. I can say that much. I would want it to be her.
Okay, okay, okay. Got you, got you.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know there was a good actress on Swarm by Donald Glover. You know what I mean? She could easily be another one. Um, man, I would have to look. There's a lot of
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. I just want to kind of give you a little lob, you know what I'm saying? Throw that
Yeah,
curveball out there, man.
that
Nah,
would
man,
be the thing. I would want to be a part of the writing room because I know things are
but,
going to get tweaked.
okay.
Yeah, I would want to be a part of that creative
This
process.
is
I'd be like,
this is a writing show. Let's have fun with this right quick. We
yeah,
said it offline, off the air, but let's do it right now for the family, right?
hmm,
I asked you last week on the phone
yeah.
if Hulu said, bro, I just came across this book in the airport. I love it. I do want to pick it up. Are you willing to sign over all your rights, all your creativity, all your image and likeness, NIL? Are you willing to give all that up? Is it worth it to you? Or are you so attached to this, you like, nah, that's all right. I can't take this check.
I wouldn't be able to do it. You know, they got to stay true to the content. You know what I mean? And like I said, there's not like a bunch of like really morbid, difficult, horrible things happening in the story at all. But I just wanted to stay true to the story. I wanted to stay true to highlighting the importance of knowing your history, of the characters having the same motives and drives, and you know, saying all the same things that they said. You know, you could certainly add to it, but I wouldn't want to subtract either. You know what I mean?
Okay, okay, my brother. I appreciate you want to get that out there, man. So before we get out of here, bro, I totally enjoyed the interview. The blast,
Man,
I
me
love
too.
it.
Me too.
Whenever
You,
book two is done, please come back to the Sean P experience. I love having return guests. So
yeah,
please, when you finish book two, man, hit me up like, man, Sean is done. Line
yeah.
me up. And
You'll get
I'll bring you right back on the platform, man. Easy. It's pie. And please go out there, family, and get my man booked. Promise that. Tell them where they can find it. Tell them how to contact you. Tell them how to reach you. Give them all the good stuff.
yeah, yeah. Promised Land Books on Instagram. Um, Additionally, you can get it on Amazon. That's probably the fastest way. But if you hit me up on Promised Land Books, I wouldn't mind, trying to get one to you if I can, if I'm, if I have the time.
Yeah,
I'll try.
get that signed copy. Get that signed copy.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely, man. And just show the project some love, man. Just if you can't leave a review, I'm cool with that. Just talk to one person about it. You know what I'm saying? Just talk to
But
one person.
please, man, anybody watching the show, man, I love discussing the writing process. I love discussing the business process for anybody out there aspiring to write. Reviews are important. Reviews are important. The comments, the clicks, the shares, the algorithm. We live in a technology time right now, so yes, it does matter. If you
Yeah,
leave a little quick, it takes 5, 10 seconds, man. Just say a little something. It means a whole lot because we all say but back to banned books, right? This is one of my problems with banned books. We all say, "Oh man, it's banned book week," and I can't believe they banning books. But you won't go and buy the book. Go and buy the banned book.
right.
Pass out the banned books.
Hmm.
Those banned book authors, support them, show them love. That's how you combat banned books, in my personal opinion. So you want
Right.
to love these authors. We want more black authors. We want more black stories. We want black horror. Do certain things to show the algorithm, man, we liking this. We want some
Most
more of
definitely.
this.
Most
On
definitely.
Netflix, they say something on Netflix and most platforms. Are you liking this? Do you
Yeah,
want more like this?
yeah,
And
definitely.
as you clicking that, your algorithm on your Netflix gonna have a certain search history, a certain
Hmm.
it's showing you certain things coming up next. So the same
Yep.
thing with this. The more you clicking and liking on certain things, you getting more
Yeah.
of that. So let's do that to ourselves within the network, man.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely, man. We got to support each other, man. We got to support each other. Super important.
Man, I totally, absolutely enjoyed this time with you, my brother. Thank y'all for my wonderful,
Appreciate
beautiful,
it.
intelligent chat, man. Y'all had some good questions in the chat, good comments in the chat. I love the interaction. We feed off of y'all, and y'all feeding off of us. Until next time, today is the 26th. On
Mhm.
October the 3rd at 10 o'clock a.m., I have Dr. Ian K. Smith, that right,
Mhm.
Dr. Ian Smith from the Steve Harvey Morning Show, Celebrity Fit Club, Dr. I, you see them everywhere. His
Yeah.
brand new fictional book is coming real soon. Eagle Rock is the name. Eagle Rock. He is
Mhm.
my next guest on October the 3rd. Mark the calendars. Get the little notification bell and see when I'm coming with the flyer for that, man. Till next time on the Show and P Experience, thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. Bless.
Definitely.